Mona, Germany. Early morning, December 16, 1944. The start of the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler's last desperate gamble had achieved complete tactical surprise. German forces, shielded by the thick fog of the Ardennes, were pushing hard against the American lines. But at Mona, where the German 326th Volksgrenadier Division was attacking, German soldiers suddenly faced an unprecedented form of artillery fire. The familiar scream of American shells overhead did not conclude with the customary thud of impact on the ground. Instead, they detonated violently in midair, precisely above their heads. Shrapnel rained down like lethal hail, saturating every available cover. Trenches, foxholes, thick tree trunks all were rendered useless. Veterans hardened on the Eastern Front stared in shock. This was death delivered from above with incomprehensible precision. In that critical moment, Colonel Oscar Alfred Axelson of the 406th Artillery Group made a historic move. The Americans were being overwhelmed. Conventional artillery could not stop the German advance. Desperation, and against strict orders from higher command, Axelson ordered his gunners to load shells equipped with a proximity fuse. He knew he risked a court-martial, but obeying orders meant certain defeat and the annihilation of his unit. The secret science of death, the proximity fuse, was far more than an improved detonator. The system operated like an electronic eye. It continuously broadcast radio waves. As the shell neared a target, the ground, trees, vehicles, the reflected signal grew stronger. At the optimal height, about 30 to 50 feet, the system triggered detonation. This was the zenith of American scientific and industrial effort, spearheaded by Dr. Merle Tuve at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. Security was comparable to the Manhattan Project. Scientists had solved what seemed like an insurmountable challenge, creating miniature, rugged vacuum tubes that could survive the extreme ballistic forces. The impact was immediate and devastating. At Mona, the German attack ground to a halt. The air-bursting shells created a cone of fragments that saturated a much wider area than conventional ground bursts, multiplying the lethality by a factor of 5 to 10. The weapon is unleashed, Colonel. Axelson's unauthorized act created a crisis of command, but the weapon's combat effectiveness was undeniable. Recognizing the desperate situation across the Ardennes front, General Dwight D. Eisenhower swiftly requested that all restrictions be lifted. By December 21st, the order was given. Proximity fuses were cleared for general ground combat use across the entire Bulge battlefield. The subsequent rapid deployment demonstrated the superior American logistics machine. Within days, key artillery units received the shells, particularly those around Bastogne. The Ring of Death at Bastogne, and the Sour River Bastogne, the besieged crucible. The siege of Bastogne was the perfect showcase for the fuse's defensive power. The 101st Airborne Division, though surrounded and outnumbered, held the vital crossroads due to effective artillery support. The 463rd Parachute Field Artillery Battalion fired thousands of rounds. Relentless German assaults, including the one following McAuliffe's famous nuts, disintegrated under the airbursts. German prisoners later recounted that their formations often lost cohesion before even reaching the American lines, panicked by the inexplicable overhead explosions. The Sour River slaughter, the most chilling incident, occurred on Christmas Day, December 25th to 26th, at the Sour River. General George S. Patton witnessed and recorded the event in his memoir. A German battalion attempted a crossing, believing the darkness and fog would shield them from American observers. Traditional artillery would have required careful spotting and adjustment. With the proximity fuse, no such adjustment was needed. Patton wrote, "We caught a German battalion crossing the Sour. The new posit ammunition was devastating. The shells burst in the air above them. They had nowhere to run. The river behind them, our fire in front and above. When the shelling ceased, 702 bodies were counted." This precise figure illustrated the cold, mathematical efficiency of the new weapon. A single battalion was effectively eliminated in minutes. Forest warfare transformed the dense forests of the Ardennes. on which the Germans relied for cover, became deadly traps. When a proximity fuse detonated over the forest, the lethal effect was multiplied. Not only did it scatter the shell's steel fragments, but the blast also shattered tree branches, creating thousands of wooden projectiles traveling at bullet speeds. Shrapnel and splinters descended from above, nullifying every trench and root system. German units, masters of forest warfare, found their expertise worthless. There was no correct tactical response. Spreading out made them vulnerable to the wide area coverage, while bunching up risked the annihilation of entire squads by a single shell. Intelligence failure and psychological collapse. The German intelligence failure regarding the proximity fuse proved catastrophic. Despite capturing thousands of spent shells, German technical experts dismissed them as impossible due to the presence of vacuum tubes. This institutional hubris prevented any development of countermeasures. The psychological impact on German soldiers was severe. They lost their final sanctuary, bad weather and darkness. The proximity fuse turned artillery into a 24/7 threat, capable of delivering death instantly without need for forward observation. This breakdown extended even to elite units. SS Colonel Otto Skorzny's commandos, the best troops Germany could field, a devastating proximity fused fire during their attempt to seize Normandy. The inability to cope with the technologically superior enemy led to a collapse in morale, with some fanatical SS survivors reportedly charging American lines, preferring a quick death to the terror of the unseen air bursts. As a technological legacy, ultimately, the Battle of the Bulge concluded on January 25, 1945. Hitler had achieved nothing at the cost of approximately 100,000 German casualties. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt later confirmed. The proximity fuse was decisive. The fuse was more than just a weapon improvement. It was a revolution. Its development established standards in miniaturized electronics, quality control, and logistics that underpin modern industry. The technology gave rise to the concept of the smart weapon and continues to shape modern warfare. In the frozen forests of the Ardennes, the age of technological warfare had truly arrived. The mathematics of death were rewritten by tiny radar sets and artillery shells, demonstrating that superior science and industrial capacity could deliver a decisive military advantage.